Hi and welcome back. I'm taking some time today to check on all of the bulbs, corms, tubers, various plants that I have in storage for the winter. And I'm sure they're all fine, but I know a couple of them are going to need some attention, particularly my dahlias, so we're going to have a look at those in a minute. But I live in a climate where the ground tends to freeze solid for a few months at a time, so things like dahlias I cannot leave in the ground at all. I've got a Colocasia, I've got a large banana. I also have a whole bunch of Ranunculus that I'm going to plant for cut flowers in the spring. Those get to be started fairly soon, but a lot of these things won't be able to go outside until we have no risk of frost, and more importantly, the ground is warmed up a little bit. So this ugly little corner of the basement houses all of my various garden things. I've got crates stacked, I've got all of my various seed starting things, pots, and there are my soil blockers, which are going to get some use pretty soon, watering cans, all of that kind of stuff. But I also store all my plants and things down here too. I have quite a few ranunculus corms stored down here. This is the largest bag. The tag in there says amandine white. I have a whole bunch, probably about 300 here, not counting the new ones that I bought. Now, I dug up all of my daffodils last year. I did not get them all replanted. So they're obviously still alive. They're starting to produce some shoots, which they do tend to do before the ground freezes. I think I'm going to have to deal with those also. There aren't a whole lot, so I might put them in pots and stick them out behind the greenhouse. So there's that pile. Here is the, I believe, Musa Maurelii large red banana. This thing is glorious in the summertime. And in the fall, I chopped it right down. I cut it off right about there. I let it dry out and I brought it in. So it's tried to push out a couple more leaves, which actually look fairly healthy. This one looks really good, despite that the only light that it gets is from that tiny little window, which doesn't even really get any direct sunlight. That heater back there is non-functional, so don't worry about the state of that. This is in a very large, I believe, 14-inch pot. It gets a tiny bit of water only about once a month. And it's going to go back outside after risk of last frost. Same story as this Colocasia. There's a slight chance I might have that wrong. I'm pretty sure it's a Colocasia, which did get cut back and is also trying to push out some new growth. So I'm going to give that a little bit of water. The lighting here is terrible. I overwintered this thing last year, and I took so long to come back to life in the spring that I thought it was dead, so I threw it on my compost pile, only to end up having to pull it out sometime in late July, early August. That's actually in a video, I think, titled Garden Surprises. I found this thing growing in the compost, took it out, potted it up, just stuffed it in this pot right here and left it there. So I don't really want to see it go completely dormant. Now it's January, so it's going to be close to 4 more months before this thing can go outside. So I might bring it upstairs, let it put on some growth as a bit of a house plant, but in the meantime, it's down here, supposedly in storage. Now, over in the corner of this shelf are some new things that I bought. Let's see what we have. Oh, anemone caramel pastel. I have about 40 anemones. There they are. Snake's head fritillaries, fritilaria meleagris. These are amazing if you have wet ground. They don't mind being waterlogged at all, and they sort of look like a tulip that's hung upside down. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I have a few of these out right now that have gone through a couple of winters already and bloomed in the spring. Absolutely love them. Ranunculus. There they are. I have all of my saved ranunculus is what I've shown you already. This is new ones that I bought this year. So I have Ranunculus Bonbon, which is this. Looks like, oh, sometimes I'm very well organized. 56 Ranunculus Bonbon in there. And I think I have, this says amandine yellow. So that must be what's in here, yeah. Amandine yellow 52. Anemone Bordeaux, that is a dark burgundy color. Looks like probably 30 or so in there too. And oh rats, the rest of these are also daffodils. Small little daffodils that are really good for naturalizing. Some of them have some little green shoots. I will definitely pot those up too. Tiny little bulbs compared to the other daffodils. They're called golden bells. Now all of these I sold a whole bunch already, so there's probably only about a third of what I originally bought that's left. Quick tea break. Now the main reason that I came down here is for my dahlias. Some of them are in pretty good shape. This one looks really good. The tubers are firm. I didn't clean them off super well, so I'm not seeing a whole bunch of eyes at this point. It's still January. This one looks great, but I pulled all these tubers out of the ground, threw them in these crates, and then basically left them there. So there's a whole bunch in this crate below, and even below that, that I know are completely dried out. So we're going to be taking these out. Yeah, see, that one looks pretty dried out. And putting these in some soil, as it's still another month or so before I'm going to pot them up, which is early for home gardener standards, but I want to take cuttings of these and plant the cuttings rather than the actual tubers. And the reason that I do that is because dahlia cuttings are supposed to produce better quality cut flowers, slightly larger blooms, slightly more vigorous colors. And I did take a couple of cuttings last year, not a ton. They did work. Dahlias apparently root really easily from cuttings. Okay, I'm looking for empty bins because I don't have anything to line those crates with, and if I put soil in them, it's going to go everywhere. So I'm going to start with these two Rubbermaid bins. I'm just going to very slightly moisten the soil that I'm putting in here because we don't want the tubers to rot. But I am not going to seal the lids on top completely either, so let's put this up on the table. So there is some soil in this bin already. And this was just some basic generic potting soil that I got from the hardware store when I needed some. Potting soil can be hard to come by in a small town this time of year. By that I mean mid-January. Now let's move this so that you can see what I'm doing. There, that's not too bad. That's about an inch. And all I'm going to do, that is a pretty large clump right there. Healthy looking. This is one of the ones that's definitely not dried out. This is a much smaller one. I'm just going to nestle these in and put a little bit of soil on the top. And some of these I actually labeled. This one says, all it says is burgundy. So we'll keep those tags with them. And these two do not have tags. I'm leaving a little bit of breathing space in between, not a ton. I was lucky enough to find one of these big bales of Pro Mix in town last week. I'm just going to top up. This second bin here is a lot deeper than the first one, and I think I'm going to keep the dahlias in here when I take cuttings, which means I won't have to pot them up again after I do this, so that'll be fine. So I'm just going to build up the soil level in this one a little bit so that the crown and the eyes are not too far below this rim so that they'll be close enough to my grow lights. Just going to moisten this a little bit, and this is just plain water. I'm not going to put any sort of fertilizer or nutrition in here until I want these things actually actively growing. Ball, oh, orange ball. This is why you should always use a proper garden marker. Even pencils actually stand up a lot better than Sharpies or other things like that. So, I mean, it's not very legible. Dark purple, that one I want. Oh, tag. White. That's all I wrote, just white, huh? Now there is quite a bit of soil still attached to these, and that's kind of saving my bacon here. Ooh, this is a giant clump of white. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit more soil around it. I'm going to leave the area where the eyes will be exposed. So that's going to make it a lot easier to take the cuttings. But if I were potting these up, I would want to bury those eyes about 2 inches. I am not all that gentle with my plants. That's fine, they can take it. Well, I found another one. And by one, I mean 3, 4. Wizard of Oz. Ooh, I like that one. And this one says yellow, something yellow. Okay. So I have these white sheets. These are old white sheets that I just use to cover things when there's frost out. I'm going to put this over here for a moment. But in this case, I think I'm going to use these to line the crates so the soil doesn't fall out, because I've run out of Rubbermaid bins. So let's put this one aside. That is all of them. Sheet's not a bad idea because it won't hold in too much moisture. I only use these to cover things outside anyway, so I am not worried about them getting dirty. All right, so that's just a couple of scoops. Let's see what we can fit in there. I have 2 Wizard of Oz. Let's put those together. And I'll stick the tag in between those. I'm 90% sure that is a Wizard of Oz. And then we can fit one slightly smaller one right here. Let's take this guy. Perfect. There, so I'm pretty much putting the soil around and between. Okay. There. Now I can do this. And that should be just right for keeping moisture and soil in the crates where it belongs. So since I have a bit too much for the last crate, I'm going to use this green bucket, which is actually sold by our grocery store. So these are grocery totes. They can't take a ton of weight. I've broken a few of these in the garden already, trying to carry them full of soil. So I have 2 large clumps of white. So I'm going to put those in this crate. Ooh, just barely. That's another one done. So there's our possibly bright yellow. We have a mystery one. We have another mystery one. Now, you can cut all of these off. I probably should have done that. I have finished all of these, which is good because I've officially reached my limit of sitting on this floor. Water this again a little bit. So a lot of these tubers were very, very dried up looking, and I have successfully sprouted very dried up tubers in the past, so I'm not super worried. But a lot of them looked better than I expected them to, which is great. I have 2 buckets, 2 of these crates, and 1 green bin. So that's not that bad. I can fit that onto 2 shelves of grow lights and take some cuttings. And I might save the tubers too. It depends on how much growing space I have, which still has yet to be determined because I haven't really made an official planting plan, and I don't always do that. I usually just kind of wing it. So I think what I'm going to do next is clean up this floor. Despite my best efforts, I did get a lot of dirt on the floor. Go heat up my tea and maybe place the last couple of seed orders. I only have, I think, 2 places left to order from, and I'm going to finish that today. So that is very exciting. Maybe I'll do a seed unboxing in the coming weeks. But for now, I'm going to say thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.